Welcome to EWA's FIN-LYT podcast. EWA is a fee-only RIA based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We hope all listeners of this podcast will benefit as we deep dive into complex financial topics that we will make simplified for you. And we hope that this really serves as a catalyst so that you can make the best financial planning decisions for your family and also save time. Welcome, everyone. Today's episode on FIN-LYT by EWA, joined here by Ben Ruttenberg, and we're going to be talking about, I would say, the most important topic right now in the finance world is keeping your money safe through cybersecurity specifically. So before we get there, though, because we've got some very important information, but Ben is, I would say, probably the top knowledgeable person in the EWA office when it comes to sports. So definitely, if we were keeping track, he would have had the number one amount of picks that we've made in the past on golf tournaments, on different big sporting events. Congrats to him on Ohio State. I'm just going to say that so we don't have to talk about it. He's made it very well known. Ohio State was the national champion this year.
You know how much I had to talk about Michigan last year when they won on these podcasts? I had to relitigate the Ohio State losses. I had to do a national championship preview, Michigan, Washington, and now it's like it's
relitigate. Are you suing Michigan for beating Ohio State? Wait, what happened this year with Michigan and Ohio State?
Michigan,
did they play
Michigan
this year?
Beat them, yeah.
Oh,
but
I think that's exactly what they needed.
Season doesn't end on November 30th, but yeah, that's very happy.
Ooh, the specific date. It must really sting there. Okay,
I was there. I was in the stadium. It was not good.
Was that in Ohio State?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, they won the national. You can't argue. They won the national championship, so they came back. So, I've got two questions for you. So, number one, who are we picking for the Super Bowl?
I feel like I've picked the Super Bowl wrong every single year since I've loved watching the Super Bowl. My heart is telling me to bet the Eagles, but my head is telling me to bet the Chiefs. I'm really stuck. I'll probably end up betting the Eagles and watch Mahomes lift another trophy as he tends to do.
I would. I had the pleasure of going to the last Super Bowl. That Eagles and Chiefs were in. Was that 2 or 3 years ago?
That was 2 years ago. Last year was Niners Chiefs.
Yeah. And that was okay. So the Chiefs are going for the three-peat.
Is that right? Was Niners Chiefs last year?
I don't know. I think so.
Okay, I'm getting my dates confused.
Or maybe that was because this is for the three-peat. Yeah.
Niners Chiefs, and then 2 years ago was Eagles
Chiefs.
Yeah.
And now it's a repeat of 2 years ago, Eagles Chiefs.
Okay.
I want the Eagles to win too. All right, I should rephrase that. I want Jalen Hurts to get one. I think his story from college, Tua came in. Obviously, Tua's an amazing quarterback. In the bowl game, Jalen Hurts gets sidelined, transfers to Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, great senior season.
Wasn't picked to, go that big. Like, what I can't remember what draft.
He was a second-round pick.
But I think at that point he was like a 4th-round pick projected. So
Yeah.
transfers over, wins the Heisman, and he won the Heisman that year, right? At Oklahoma.
I don't know. I don't know that off the top of my head.
All right, we're not going to edit this because I can embarrass myself. Jalen Hurts. We don't have an assistant like Joe Rogan in here that can look up all our information, so I got to Google this real quick.
I'm leaning no.
I'm leaning yes. No, he was a runner-up. You're right.
Who won it?
Who cares?
2018? No.
Anyways.
That may have been
2019.
God, this is such good podcasting.
Joe Burrow.
Two guys looking up stats. Yeah.
So Joe Burrow won it, but I'm just a big fan of him. I don't know him, but seems like a good leader, good guy, good attitude. And then obviously Barkley is
he's a freak
talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love those two guys to get one. I know in Pittsburgh saying I want the Eagles and no, I want Jalen Hurts and Barkley, given the circumstances, to get one.
I'm with you. It's just I've been down this road before, and the Chiefs just don't lose these games. So it is what it is.
Let's get into it. So that's going to be, promise you that's going to be more interesting than what we're about to talk about. But no, in all seriousness, so cybersecurity, just to start out, it's a couple stats. It's expected to reach $10.5 trillion globally, crime. And I think AI is going to really boost that. People can now take your voices, impersonate you, beat some of the very secure systems out there. So today we're going to talk about 3 things. One, because I think the layer of accountability to protect yourself goes down with three things. One, where your money's at. How well does that custodian do to protect your money? Two, if you're working with a financial advisor, I'm going to pick on EWA for a second. What processes, procedures, systems does that firm have in place? Who is overlooking your money specifically? And then third is, what can you do as an individual to protect yourself as well? So we're going to start out with, with Fidelity. We did a lot of research, and we have a couple custodians, but we have done a lot of research on Fidelity. It's one of our preferred custodians. They do a great job with cybersecurity. So Ben, just give us a high level here, and we can also, anyone interested, we have this huge outline. We're not going to go through everything today, but give us a high level on what processes they have in place and why we feel so comfortable with them from a cybersecurity perspective as well as a custodian.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we did a lot of research on this, and we found that Fidelity was really extremely strong in the field of cybersecurity. They have 5 real main frames of functions of cybersecurity. So identifying it, protecting against it, detecting it, responding to it, and then recovering from it. From the identifying standpoint, they tag all physical devices with barcode identifiers. They have a chief information security officer and a team of over 1,000 associates that have real just dedicated roles and responsibilities for identifying possible cybersecurity threats, and making sure that they have plans in place to mitigate those if an event comes due. They store all their classified data in secure, private, and proprietary information into one of 4 categories. So public, internal, confidential, and highly confidential. And if you only authorized users can get into the confidential, highly confidential sectors. They only allow authorized users to access assets. If an associate ever leaves, Fidelity HR automatically terminates their request. They can no longer get into the building. They have their own VPN network. So I know a big issue is like public Wi-Fi if an employee is working at like an airport or a coffee shop. They have an always-on VPN that always has 2-factor authentication. So even if employees are working remote, they are protected. And then they own and operate all their own data centers. So their 2 biggest ones are in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then Omaha, Nebraska. And in order to access those, there's card holders, there's biometric scanners, there's 24/7, 365 security. So all the physical data that Fidelity has, extremely under lock and key from an identify and protect standpoint. And then if an event happens, their response team, they have a full cyber event playbook and a CSIRT, that stands for Computer Security Incident Response Team. They have detailed roles and responsibilities for all departments, so HR, legal, corporate risk, et cetera. And then their recovery team is really second to none. They have data centers with full redundancy to ensure continuous operations in the event of a pandemic, fire, water leak, power outage. Their disaster recovery program is really second to none. Not to get into the weeds here, but fully redundant HVAC systems, multiple top-of-the-line generators, and UPS backup power. They can actively configure data and replicate it in true real time. So if a data center goes down, they're able to replicate it in another data center. So again, we can talk about this for 2 hours, but from a Fidelity standpoint, in terms of identifying risks, they're arguably, in our opinion, the best custodian at it. And then if an event does occur, their response and recovery, I was just really impressed with how they operate from those standpoints.
Awesome. Well, obviously, we can tell you're a big fan about Fidelity, Ben. It's okay. We appreciate you sharing your feelings. No, I'm just kidding. That's great. That was a great outline. So, downside, they have trillions of dollars of one of the biggest custodians on the planet. So they're the number one target. They're the number one target. So I think it's very important to, okay, my money's safe there. Awesome. But just know, if you followed best practices, Fidelity also will cover any fraud that occurs.
Yeah.
If you don't follow best practices, then you could be liable. We're going to talk about cybersecurity insurance you can purchase. We're going to talk about working with a team that can act as that second layer of protection. But just as a side note, Fidelity has a zero liability policy. If you follow best practices, you'll get reimbursed by Fidelity. So that's another reason we feel comfortable with having them as a custodian. That's where, personally, all my investments are held as well. So,
oh, sure. Tell me more about what EWA as a firm does to help protect clients' data and cybersecurity.
I know you know this off heart, Ben, but I guess I'll cover this. No, but in all seriousness, so we have an extremely good IT team. I think it comes down to, I like to really simplify things like what could actually happen, right? So if a client emails or calls and needs money, it's our job to verify that we're sending that money to the right place and it's not someone else acting on your behalf. So we have very clear procedures in place, for anything related to cybersecurity and money movement. But if we get an email and we're going to do, make sure we call that person on their number. If they say, call this number because I'm out of town, or give it to this bank account because I'm red flag, we're taking that extra steps to make sure any out of the ordinary or ordinary money movement that we haven't already agreed on is on an automated basis to make sure it's all you. And that's more important than ever because a client could call us right now on a different number or even probably on their number. Like I've seen that happen before, as your voice with AI these days and impersonate. So it's very important that we take those extra steps. So that's with clients. From an internal system, we have a great IT team that monitors all of our systems. The decisions we make for the tech that we use is also extremely important. It all has to be approved by the SEC.
Right.
And one of the main softwares that we use is eMoney. And the research we've on the eMoney side of things, it's one of the most secure document storage systems and aggregation tools that exist for several reasons I'm not going to go into, but we do the extreme due diligence and make sure every vendor we use for our clients or behind the scenes to service our clients is the most secure software. And that also gets monitored directly by our IT team as well.
That's right.
A lot of those softwares are owned by Fidelity or on the Fidelity approved list. So they also have monitoring capabilities as well.
Yeah. eMoney is great from that standpoint. Each client has a secure vault that they're able to upload shared documents to our attention. So if there's ever a need to send over a tax return that has your social security number on it, or just otherwise something you don't want to send over email, you're able to upload it, and it's about as secure of a portal as you could possibly have. The registration for eMoney, again, it's creates a unique username and password. You have to update it every 6 months. There's multiple security questions and two-factor authentication if you ever need to access it. And then, as you mentioned, it's also an aggregation tool, so you can link outside accounts from a tracking standpoint to eMoney to have all of your balances live link in one place. But eMoney stores all that data in a third party. So even if your eMoney got hacked or you lost your password or something, anyone that was in your account wouldn't be able to access your, bank account for your checking account or your mortgage information. All of that is stored on a completely separate third party. So, really great tool from a tracking standpoint, but also very, very safe.
Absolutely. I'd say the other thing that we do is part of what we've hired the IT team to do is to actually do live training and live testing. So they have oversight into our so everything's held securely through Microsoft, through Fidelity, and then eMoney, like we mentioned, a couple other tools. But they purposely send out phishing emails to test employees the response. And so far it's been 100% from what we've all used our head. But those, I've asked them to make those harder and harder. So we have live training. We discuss that during our weekly team meeting as well. Because again, we think this is absolutely the number one risk for clients, absolutely number one risk for us as a firm, also number one risk for Fidelity. Any financial institution that exists, this is number one risk. So we're constantly doing training, testing, discussions, around what we've seen. But I think having the institutional backup of one of the largest custodians in the world of Fidelity, and then having a team that's so dedicated to this is super important. Because how I've seen it all the time. I mean, financial advisors, like text message, you have to have this archived to be SEC compliant. And how many times, get a request by text and they just do it and send the money, and that's not that person. Now the money's gone forever.
Yeah.
So not a mistake that we're, hopefully that we'll ever make in EWA's existence. So,
absolutely.
Okay. And I think the communication that having things uploaded in secure vaults, being careful what we email through, having the right, systems in place for that is also something that we do as well.
Yeah, and from an advisor standpoint, I'll just end with this: know your client. If you get an email, we meet with clients, detailed review meetings twice a year, but we're in constant communication throughout the year. So you get to really know who you're working with, and if you get a request that's out of left field or that doesn't seem right, as an advisor, that's on you to not only verify it, but just know in the back of your head, like this is outside of the norm. This is not their normal financial planning conversation that we're having here. So it's on you to verbally verify it and make sure that you're using your head and making sure that all requests are true.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's talk about what clients can do. So I think the best way to do this is I'll just talk about everything I do. So Ben, you can ask me any questions. We'll go back and forth. But I've researched this a ton. We've had friends. A lot of people are affected by this. But if you follow the right systems, know that it can always be recovered. If you don't follow the right systems or don't have the right protections in place, that's where some permanent losses and permanent stress will be there.
Yeah. So you mentioned you have your assets held at Fidelity personally.
Yep.
What protections does Fidelity offer from a cash standpoint, from an investment standpoint, to help make sure that your accounts are protected?
Well, I wish these came into play for me because that means I'd be doing a lot better than I actually am, Ben. But yeah, from a cash perspective, what's nice is their money market is paying over 4 to 5% right now, and that's as good or better than most banks. And so they offer $500,000 SPIC, so that's federal protection on the money markets. They've also purchased additional insurance just on cash, so money market or cash positions, up to $1.9 million. Instead of having $250 in each CD or like having these different bank accounts or CDs spread out everywhere, you can have all your cash there in money markets up to $1.9 million. From a security perspective, they have protection up to $1 billion per client. From a security. So if you're purchasing stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, treasuries, we're a big fan of that's safer than cash because you're just going directly to the government. If you're doing a money market or a bank account, you're secure through the government, and doing treasuries, you're just going direct through the government.
Right.
Doing that the right custodian, it's technically a security. Now you're protected up to that $1 billion level. So literally the safest thing you could do if you're worried about your money being safe and from a cybersecurity being safe as well, not stolen. So that's a Fidelity. And then, as far as like logging in, this is again, low hanging fruit. Multi-factor authentication is so important. Make sure you have that text message to go into your phone. I would change your password, at least every quarter. Make sure it's unique. Use a password manager. There's different opinions about those, but the other thing you have to think about too is if and I'll get in this. I do some pretty intense stuff just because I do travel for work a lot. I travel for fun a lot. So we'll walk through that. But that's, to answer your question, that's everything Fidelity specifically that I do. And I think the other important thing why now I have a separate bank account just for cash flow, but why I keep everything there is, time wise, one, it's all protected because Fidelity offers those limits and I'm nowhere close to those limits. And two, from I think monitoring and doing a monthly check-in, I do like a net worth update every month. That forces me to make sure everything looks okay. And there's a lot. I keep certain accounts that transactions occur and certain accounts no transactions occur other than a contribution to them. So if you keep them simplified and keep things separate, like your monthly expenses separate from like Fidelity, I view as just my wealth building platform. All that's happening in there ideally is money's going in and getting invested. So it's pretty low, maybe 5 minutes a month. I'm going in, updating the net worth, checking to make sure activities are right. And it makes it really easy to see all activity in the last 30 days. If I do that on a monthly basis, what I do, I know if everything looks right or not. Pretty simple.
Sure.
Okay. So that handles Fidelity. What's the next question?
So maybe assets outside of, not necessarily assets outside of Fidelity, but are you doing credit checks? How are you protecting against identity theft? Do you have any services or policies that you have that are checking that for you, things like that?
Yes, I use LifeLock. They send me alerts all the time, which is nice. Every time I, sign a DocuSign and like had to give personal information, it thinks I'm like opening a new account. Every time I open up a new credit card for points, I don't use LifeLock for any tracking. I use it because they provide, in the event that my identity gets stolen, they provide at the highest level, I think it's like $30 or $40 a month per person. I just know it's going to be taken care of. They provide the legal team to correct it. They also provide up to $1 million of protection for identity protection as well. And that $1 million, I mean, we'll talk about what's protected and what's not. Like credit card purchases are always protected, debit cards not typically, right?
Right.
So that $1 million, I'm not doing a lot outside of credit cards. I'm not, touching the money at Fidelity. That $1 million for me is just like a super sleep well at night. If something happens, inevitably, I'm sure it will in the future because, unfortunately, there's a lot of smart, bad people out there. That's just a check mark that's going to be taken care of.
Sure.
So that's what I do from LifeLock. I also have through my homeowner's insurance policy a cybersecurity insurance, and that's up to $250,000 through Chubb is who I have. And so that gives me extra protection as well. So on a Fidelity, assets are protected. On the LifeLock, if something happens, that's protected. I have the Chubb and the cybersecurity, which anyone can add that on their homeowner's policy.
Just like a rider, right?
And just like you should have an umbrella policy above your asset level. It's capped at $5 million, and then you should have everyone at this point should have a cybersecurity policy. I think it's like $20 a month to get that $250,000 coverage. So that's what I'm doing out of Fidelity, and then the I had one other thought, but I just lost my train of thought. Oh, Credit Karma. Yes, I mean generally, like I log in to LifeLock does this, Credit Karma does this, where it'll show you all the stuff you have. It'll show the crazy amount of credit cards I've closed now, and it shows my open accounts. And I just do a quick check, once a month. I'm updating the net worth, I'm checking Fidelity, I'm checking the bank accounts, and I'm just going through Credit Karma and saying, hey, are there any accounts I didn't open? Because right away, that's a red flag. I know someone's got my identity. So that's what I'm doing to make sure that the accounts I have are actually my accounts. It's very common, like, you hand the credit card to a waiter. Maybe that waiter, waitress, whatever, snaps a picture of it, and then you see some bad transactions. Well, that gets covered right away. You get a new card in the mail. That's very common. That's happened to me probably 10 times in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter though, because I always use a credit card when I'm out. Those are always protected.
Sure. Sure. Really good tips. I really have nothing to add. That was a really comprehensive breakdown.
What else? What about traveling? So you're at the airport.
Yeah.
You're at a coffee shop. You're in a different country. What are you gonna do, Ben? And you're like, I gotta work. Dr. Smith is calling me, and I know I'm on vacation, but when EWA standards, no, I'm just kidding. But we do, especially the guys on our team, we do work on vacation because money never sleeps. Like that's just, I forget what movie that is, but it's true. We take this job extremely seriously. A lot of time clients have high stress things that need to happen right away. Let's say you are traveling on vacation, you need to plug in for 15 minutes. How are you going to go about doing that?
Yeah, really, the number one fear that I would have is to have my phone get stolen. It is face protected with a passcode, but the last thing I would want is someone to get into my email. So if I'm ever out of the country or like out to dinner or something, I would actually just leave my phone in like my safe if I know I'm going out and not even really bring it. That's my biggest fear, is having my phone stolen in a foreign country. So if I'm ever out, I know you've mentioned before you wear some fashion belt that links to your pants. Is that right? That holds.
Yeah, that was once in Europe, in Spain. Like your wallet goes under your thing. But I'm thinking more from a Wi-Fi perspective. So never get on a public Wi-Fi. So you can turn your phone, if you have an iPhone, you can turn it into a hotspot. That way it's specific to you. And make sure sharing is not
and that's password protected.
Yeah, that's password protected. I also, again, I'm over the top, but I also, take this very seriously. And not only do I have to protect my identity, but to protect, all the clients of EWA if we're working, and it's typically what I'm doing. So I also have a VPN service that I use as well. So anytime I'm outside the office, I'm using either my home secure internet. If I'm outside of my home or the office, I'm using my phone as a hotspot. I'm also using a VPN on my computer as well. I'm taking my daughter to a mission trip in Kenya this year to this school called EduKenya. It's going to be amazing. Former colleague of ours, the family started that school. They're doing great things, but I bring Starlink to that as well because there's not going to be internet there, and I'm going to still have to plug in. So that's definitely secure as well. So I'm excited about that. It's got to be like facing
what's the
sky.
Time difference there?
I don't know.
I feel like I'm going to get emails from you like 3 a.m.
Well, that happens even right now. So no, it'd probably be more normal there because of the time difference. But so I would say all of those things, and then I had another important one.
I would say the big.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
you said the phone.
Yeah.
I travel to some pretty crazy places. I went to as you know, the Amazon rainforest a couple months ago, and so what I learned there is that and that was flew back through Rio de Janeiro, is how you pronounce it. Amazing city, beaches, hiking, food. It was awesome, but one of the most dangerous cities in the world. I didn't know that until I was there. But anyways, they steal your phone. Like there's a huge wealth gap there, so typically they know if they can get on your. When I say they, there's certain people that will ride around on bicycles and they're known to foreigners. So you got to keep your phone in your pocket. So it got me thinking, if I'm going to do these kind of travels, my new policy is if I'm out of the country, I have a different phone. And that phone just has the basics on it. It doesn't have any bank accounts. It doesn't have any business related apps on it. It just has basically, me and my information, and probably Uber and just a couple apps I need to travel, a translator, a language translator, etc. But yeah, if I'm out of the country, my main phone, which has all my financial information, I'm not going to travel with it because you think what could happen? Well, if someone has my phone or, something happens and they hit me and now they're face IDing me and I'm knocked out.
Yeah,
this is literally what are they going to do if they have a phone that has nothing on it?
exactly.
So I just needed to communicate with people.
Yeah.
So
smart.
That's another, if you're going to be in a more adventurous area, which I plan to be, is I would travel with a different phone than your main phone. Because typically most people, their whole life is on their phone. So
yeah. The one thing that I would add, it's so simple, but password storage, you'd be shocked how many people use the same password for everything. This is not breaking news, but use the same password for everything. Makes, their password for everything is one name. Maybe you add an exclamation point or you add a capital letter here or something. Make your passwords different for every site. And if you think you're going to forget it, store your passwords on a secure app on your phone. I use KeepSafe, secure app, and I just have a note with all of my logins, all of my usernames, all my passwords. Every time I need to change it, I log into the secure note and I change it. And it's very easy to track. It's super simple and it's super secure. Easiest way, I don't like saving passwords on my computer. If my computer gets stolen and it's automatically there, whoever can get in can just get in. So I like to just keep it totally separate on my phone in a secure note where no one else can see it.
I think I'll close with that as well. I think with today, I always think worst case scenario, my phone gets stolen. We just address that. What if my computer gets stolen? So I actually don't keep anything on my desktop, like the hub of the computer. Everything's in these secure clouds. And so when I operate, if my computer gets stolen, within 5 minutes after that, I could go into every system I'm in and change passwords. So literally this computer, no one could access anything on it because I can, change the password, change my my profile where everything's saved, and act very quickly. So that's another, if you think about where you're at risk. If someone had this, would I be in trouble? If the answer is yes, think about adapting how you do business or how you live your life so that you could withstand a catastrophe. If something gets stolen, a tool, someone logs in, you could adjust it very quickly and accordingly.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. Hopefully you found this helpful. Really hope this is as beneficial and impactful to as many people across the nation as possible. So hit the follow button. Make sure to rate the podcast and please share with any friends or family members that would also find this beneficial. Thank you very much.